Hi mga kaps, kumusta? Sa sabuting kalagayan at malusog pa
Hold up. Hey, for my niggas who be
katawan. Ito
8, 2012, and 2017. The UPR of the Philippines during the cycle will be held on the 14th of November 2022. The adoption of the report of the session is scheduled on November 16, 2022. The Philippine delegation consists of senior officials from the Department of Justice, the Presidential Human Rights Committee, or PHRC, the secretariat of which, and the Department of Foreign Affairs, including the permanent mission of the Philippines to the United Nations in Geneva. The delegation's message to the UPR will be very clear. The Philippines, under the leadership of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., is working to deliver transformational reform of its justice and law enforcement sectors to enhance the enjoyment of human rights of all our citizens, based on the rule of law and respect for due process. In addition, the delegation will share ongoing initiatives of the DOJ, which we have labeled as a comprehensive reform program of real justice in real time. It includes, among others, concrete measures to decongest our prisons, improve case buildup through cooperation between prosecutors, investigators, and the Commission on Human Rights, and reaching out to civil society to strengthen witness protection. They will also inform about gains made during the first 100 days of the Marcos administration in terms of protecting the vulnerable groups such as migrants and children. Likewise, an update will be given as to how the Philippines has implemented the recommendations that it accepted during previous reviews. As is usual practice in the UPR, a large number of countries have inscribed to speak during the review. Our delegation looks forward to listening to the observations and any new recommendations that UN member states will put forward. In the UPR, each country is free to respond to issues in the manner it deems most appropriate. There is no obligation to accept all recommendations. In any case, the Philippines will engage constructively and openly based on the principles of sovereign equality, independence, and dialogue. Human rights are part of the vibrant fabric of Philippine society and democratic governance. We are thus confident that this UPR session will be fruitful. While in Geneva, Secretary Remulla will also meet with Filipino community leaders to brief them about developments here at home and get to know them better. I will provide further details of the outcomes of the UPR and the delegation's visit in due course. On to the official statement of the Department of Justice, given this day, 11th of November 2022, on the recent case of Percy Lapid and the recent complaints filed against the respondents in that case. Before all this happened, the relationship between Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Boying Remulla and Bureau of Corrections Director General Gerald Bantag was strong and healthy. They discussed reforms with each other, they planned operations together, they set many persons deprived of liberty free together. DG Bantag claims that when the new administration entered, he tendered a courtesy resignation. However, it was Secretary Remulla who showed his outright support and insisted that the Director General remain in his post under this new leadership. Nobody wanted the evidence to point to Director General Bantag. The Department of Justice understands the predicament of DG Bantag. His words and actions, no matter how personal and inappropriate, come from a misguided sense of betrayal. There is only one issue at hand, that is, the related murders of Percy Lapid and June Villamor. Let us not muddle the issue. Let us not clutch at straws. The method used in the investigation conducted jointly between the Philippine National Police and the National Bureau of Investigation was the method of deduction. Meaning to say, at the start, there was a long list of persons considered persons of interest. There were many politicians, government officials, and big names on that list. They were the persons mentioned and targeted in the show of Lapid who may have had a motive to kill him. However, from all the evidence collected so far, the sworn statements of the PDLs, ballistics analysis, CCTV footage, the money trail, and all those other physical evidence gathered to boost the credibility of the statements, they all pointed to the respondents as perpetrators of the murder. Simply said, anybody in the position of the NBI and the PNP would file the case given the totality of circumstances they gathered from the investigation. They have been on this case from the very beginning. They had the privilege of observing body language, asking probing questions, receiving intelligence reports, and finally piecing everything together. In the words of Secretary Remulla, we hoped we could point at the drug syndicates as perpetrators. It was not good news when the evidence started to point to the respondents. But given the totality of the circumstances, the PNP and NBI had to stick to the evidence at hand. There is a proper forum and a proper time to thresh this all out. Now that the complaint has been filed for murder against the two respondents, the following is the process at the preliminary investigation stage. A subpoena will be sent to the respondents for them to answer through their counter-affidavit. This is the sworn statement answering all the allegations in the complaint. He will be given that chance. Then, a preliminary investigation will be set. This comes in the form of a summary or informal hearing where both parties are heard. The purpose of the preliminary investigation is to determine whether there is sufficient ground to engender a well-founded belief that a crime has been committed and the respondent is probably guilty thereof and should be held for trial. In other words, the purpose here is to determine probable cause. There is a lower quantum or standard of evidence to see if the case can be filed in court. If filed in court, that is when a full-blown trial is done. There, in order to convict the accused, the standard or quantum of evidence needed is proof beyond reasonable doubt. Meaning to say, a moral certainty is required, or that degree of proof which produces conviction in an unprejudiced mind. It will be through these processes that we will determine the guilt or innocence of the respondents in this case. To end, there is no other motive than to bring out the truth and reality. Of course, this will be done through a legal process and with due process afforded to everybody involved. To repeat the statement made in the joint press conference, this concerted and coordinated effort of both the DOJ and the DILG has turned out to be a war against impunity and the continuous and gross disregard of the rule of law. We will not stop until justice is served to the families of the victims in this case. On a final note, we were informed by the Office of the City Prosecutor that the subpoena relating to the cases filed against DG Bantag have yet to be issued and sent so that he and the rest of the respondents may be given a chance to answer the charges filed against them. On the other hand, the preliminary investigations of Escorial and Bacoto ensued today. The said hearing was attended by the PNP and the two accused together with their respective counsels. All parties were informed that all of the cases will be heard simultaneously. Afterwards, a consolidated resolution will be issued for the said cases. Thank you and good afternoon.